Well, 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 if it isn't rotten armor. Didn't think you'd see me talking about you again, did you? Although, to be fair, I didn't expect to have to continue to belabor this point. How many times am I going to have to teach you this lesson, old man? Back in November of last year, I already made one rant video about rotten armor and how just absolutely horrible it is from every perspective, and yet here it is still. I thought at the time that Fatshark had received the message because they have honestly been pretty receptive to rant videos and the community's outcry about certain things in the past. So I talked about how annoying pink enemies were and how they can heal, really difficult to kill enemies way too much and just make the game into a slogfest. They nerfed those. Talked about how plasma gunners were unreadable and just would blast you out of nowhere, and they fixed those. So I was thinking, hey, they removed rotten armor the cycle after I put that video out. We certainly won't see this thing again for a long time until it's fixed. Turns out, no. It turns out that whatever supervillain created rotten armor was just going back to the lab to do some gene splicing, and they said, wait, hold on a second. People don't actually hate rotten armor with a burning passion of 1,000 dying suns. What they actually are complaining about is the fact that it's bugged. See, what it should actually have is even more damage reduction, and it should apply to melee as well as range damage, and it should make this annoying sound that sounds like this. Like a rusty shovel trying to stab into a tuna can or something for every single attack that hits them. That's what will fix this and make it so that players aren't complaining about it. And then they just threw it back in. And it has been here for like months now. We cannot seem to escape it. Somehow, inexplicably, even though there are 10 Havoc rotators or Havoc mutators in rotation, ostensibly, I feel like I've seen the same 5 of them over and over and over again. When was the last time we had rampaging, like the orange enemies? Remember those? Remember that stuff? Remember, like, shit, I'm thinking fondly about pink at this point. I just can't seem to escape this curse of having rotten armor in my games. And for those of you who are uninitiated, for those of you who don't play Havoc, you know what? God bless you. Good fortune be upon you, because you have chosen the right and the correct path. Just stick to Auric games, quite honestly. But for those uninitiated, what is rotten armor? Well, the easy breakdown is, imagine a game that is already very difficult, right? Havoc games already have the capacity to spawn in 2, 3, 4 bosses at a time, plus horde waves, plus waves of 12 to 15 specials, right? So things are pretty hectic. Now take those horde waves that are normally comprised of light armored like little poxwalker enemies, and just replace those with crushers. Okay, so now you're probably already seeing, wait, hold on, how would that be balanced? Because like crushers are fundamentally different, right? So now you have just hordes of crushers instead. Well, now take those crushers and give them massive damage reduction. The damage reduction is scaled such that the damage reduction is higher when the enemy's health is higher, so your first attacks on them, when they're above 10 or when they're above 90% HP, deal 75% less damage. So crushers, just to give you some perspective, on Havoc 40 have about 10,000 HP. So the first 1,000 of their HP that you would need to deal will actually take you 4,000 damage to deal it. That's to do 10% of their damage. So effectively, and this scales across the course of their whole HP bar, effectively this damage reduction factor increases their HP by about 45%, and this is on top of the 50% that Havoc 40 enemies already get. So you've got enemies, crushers, that are spawning about 4 in a pack that spawn in the place of horde waves, and horde waves don't just come with like one, they come multiple waves from different directions at the same time, right? So you'll get like one pack of 4 crushers that all have 15,000 effective HP from the front, and then you'll get another one from the back, and then you'll get another one from the front. And so over the course of a horde wave, you'll stack up between 15 and 20 of these crushers, plus all those other maulers and ragers that it can spawn with as well. So that just dumps a fuck ton of additional enemies on you. And remember that these enemies, not only are they a bunch of effective HP to kill, but this is also carapace armor. So these crushers are fully armored in carapace, so only certain weapons can hurt them at all, and when they do, it's usually with severely reduced damage. So yeah, you have to kill all this stuff, and if you don't, the game is not going to pull any punches. Part of Havoc is that there is no attenuation for, oh, the players have enough on their plate already, let's pull back here and not spawn more stuff. Havoc says no to that. That is too wimpy. Havoc says if you already have 1 million enemies spawned, we can still spawn more. It's not even considered. So for a sense, for those of you who don't play it, for a sense of how hard this is, you know, say for instance, hypothetically, there was a YouTuber who covers only Darktide, and he was going to make a tier list or a ranking system that showed the different Havoc modifiers and how difficult and how fun they are on like an XY axis, hypothetically. And if I were to rank like that, I would rank out of 100 for difficulty, I would rank Rotten Armor 150. It is so bonkers insane how unbalanced it is compared to any other modifier that it can take a Havoc 25 and legitimately make it harder than a Havoc 40. And games will routinely on Havoc 40 or so take 50 minutes plus just to get through them. I'm saying this as a player that has thousands upon thousands of hours in the game and routinely plays difficult, you know, Havoc 40 games. Listen, I like my dick flattened as much as the next guy, but there comes a point when it just gets too flat. Okay, when it just becomes painful and not the good sort of pain. Nobody likes it. It is something that almost unanimously I can see agreed across the whole spectrum. Normally you have less experienced players who are at odds with more experienced players, you know, the players with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours who are saying, no, like leave the balance like it is, because like these hard things, that's where we derive, you know, enjoyment out of beating those. Even the most veteran experienced players that I have encountered are still saying, please remove this. I don't want to play against this. Listen, if you've played Havoc at all, here's one phrase that you have heard so many times you can't even count it. Just, does anyone have anything that doesn't have Rotten Arm on it? Like, fuck. That's what everyone is saying. As soon as you check the Havoc board and you see your mission as Rotten Armor, you immediately ask everybody else in their group if they have it. And even though statistically it's supposed to be only 50% of games, because there's 4 potential mutators you can pick from in the rotation, it seems like it's like 100% somehow, inexplicably. So yeah, you just end up, basically, if you wanted to actually play the game and win and get to Havoc 40 as many players' goals, the optimal way to do that is literally just put your mission up on the board and then just kick people until somebody has a game that doesn't have Rotten Armor in it, right? And then just play that one. Because you have 50%, no, like 75% more odds of beating any mission with any modifiers on it, except for Rotten Armor. Rotten Armor is the single hardest modifier by a absolute mile. And again, I understand what some people will say, right? Because when I put out my video, the previous video ranting about this, I still had 2%, you know, out of 1,400 likes, I had 2% of people that said, you know, that didn't like it, that disliked it, that said things like, get good, or the game's supposed to be hard, now you're complaining about it being hard. Okay, so listen, the game is hard, but it's not that hard. I'm good enough, I have gotten good enough to counter this and win. I can win against Rotten Armor. If I really, really wanted to, I could win every single time. I can tell you exactly how you counter it, okay? You bring all the most meta shit, and then you just turtle up anytime it spawns a Crusher wave, anytime it spawns a Rotten Armor wave, and you blast it all the fucking kingdom come, and then you move forward 5 feet, and you do it again and again and again, over and over until you finish the mission in like an hour and 50 minutes. And it's lame as fuck, and it takes forever, but if you wanted to, you could guarantee a win every single time just by abusing the best stuff in the game, and by never really taking any chances or pushing when there is anything on the map at all. Kill everything without exception, and only then may you move. Because this mutator is just like every single other mutator, right? Well, excepting like 2, right? And that's another video that you can expect in the near future. Hey, subscribe, by the way, so you can see that shit. We have 10 mutators in this game, and with 2 exceptions, 8 of these mutators are just, hey, here's some more enemies with more HP. Good luck killing them all. That's it. It's just a fucking DPS check, just like every other time. This one just happens to be a completely overtuned DPS check that cucks most builds by saying, nope, you can't hurt these enemies at all, and it just completely shuts down any sort of creative play. The thing that really kills me about this is that when you're playing Havoc, you are playing it for the moments of like, oh, I'm close, like I'm close to like being overrun by these enemies, and then I barely hang on. With this, if you there is a fine line with Rotten Armor where you will be doing enough DPS that you can clear the enemies, and if you dip below that, you pretty much instantly lose, because the second you dip below the line for Rotten Armor, those enemies start to pile up. And then the game spawns more enemies, because not only does Rotten Armor give that damage reduction buff to every enemy that it spawns, those additional Horde Wave enemies, but every Crusher, Mauler, and Rager that spawn in the map passively also get this buff. So every other Crusher you encounter randomly throughout the level, which, keep in mind, certain level seeds will just say, oh, hey, this time we're going to spawn all melee enemies. And therefore, now you have a level that's full of metal enemies that have 45% increased HP and damage reduction. That can just happen to you. So you end up in a situation where you literally, physically, unless you are playing with everybody doing the maximum amount of DPS at all time, it cannot kill everything. And that just grinds the game to a halt, because when you're playing on Havoc, if you make forward progress, the game will punish you or attempt to punish you, right? It'll spawn in bosses as you cross certain boundaries. It'll trigger like events like the twins spawning in. So if you have like, you know, just are like, oh man, like we've almost killed all these enemies in this horde, let's start to make some forward progress. And then just so happen to get a spawn of 2 bosses at the same time, well, now you have 2 bosses plus the 3 crushers you didn't finish off. And guess what's going to spawn behind that? 5 more crushers, and then they get added in. And eventually, as you'll probably see in the B-roll here, it starts to snowball, and you just literally can't even keep up with it. So the coolest part about playing games in Darktide, right, I think everybody would agree, is the badass moments where you are styling on enemies, and that can't happen into Rotten Armor because it's just a big wall of fucking metal. Like, you're not styling on 15 crushers in a huge long slab amorphous line, right? That's not like engaging you in any sort of interesting play. And the other really cool part is when you're playing from behind and you have to like clutch out a really cool situation. But this mutator precludes that. You simply cannot clutch and recover from a bad position against Rotten Armor, because if you take 2 minutes after, like, you say your team gets killed, right, and you're not actively continuing to kill at the rate that it expects you to, it'll just dump 10 more crushers on you. And then even if you get your team up, you guys are completely fucked. In fact, you're probably seeing that in some of the B-roll right now, a game that very early on went sideways. We realized one person went down. We suddenly didn't have the DPS to keep up with the number of crushers and shit that it was spawning, and then it all just fell apart. We all just started having to run for the high hills and hope that we could recover from there, and this went on for 20 minutes plus. The objectively correct decision was just to jump off the edge of the map and redo and hope we didn't make a single mistake. And the fact that this can happen at any time during this incredibly long slog of a mission, you could be 50 minutes in, one player can get downed or thrown off the map by a barrel, and then it spawns a crusher wave on you, and you don't kill it all before the next crusher wave comes, and the whole game is over, right? You literally can't recover from there. So that is just like the worst feeling, and perhaps worst feeling of all. This mutator completely reinforces everything in the existing meta. And to make that point, let me go over and show you this image here. So this is going to be subjective for certain, and this does not represent every weapon in the game, but here you can see a very large selection of the weapons in the game across all classes. And note I don't have Hive Scum weapons here, but you all know how the Hive Scum does into Carapace armor, don't you? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a red X on every weapon that if you were to try and make this weapon like a focus of your build, or, you know, a big part of doing damage in your build, it would just be, it cannot compete against mass crushers. There you go. So these are the weapons you're left with that can actually deal any reasonable damage. In fact, I think I even see one more that should have been crossed out. I think that single chain sword over there should go too. So these are the weapons that are left that can deal anything. Oh, and we gotta get rid of the Elise, right? As you see, I'm still thinning it down. These are the weapons that are left that can do anything against crushers at all in any way, shape, or form. And some of them only like very tangentially, like the force swords. Like you're not actually dealing with that. It's just like a pretty okay weapon. But like this, and not all of these are A+ examples. These are just the ones that can at all, right? These other ones, you are straight the fuck out. These weapons deal next to 0 damage against Carapace, let alone Carapace that has 45% additional HP and damage reduction on top of that. And so what does this mean for the game? Well, it means that if you see Rotten Armor on your on the card for like what Havoc mission you're going to go into, there's immediately a whole host of builds, a whole host of compositions that you just cannot play, that you should not be playing if you have any real intention of winning. And like, you know, people will get at me and say, oh, well, you can do it. Well, sure, you can do it. But like for 99.99999% of players, going Devil's Claw Zealot into Rotten Armor is suicide, right? It's just straight suicide. You're going to do next to 0 damage, and you are going to be a detriment to the team because you can't kill these enemies. So you have to force yourself to bring the weapons that can counter them. And that's like one of the biggest flaws in this is, guess what? Just so conveniently happens to be the counter to Rotten Armor. Wouldn't you know it, it's just all the things that were already good against the game already, right? It's still Plasma Gun. It's still Flame Staff. It's still the Slab Shield. It's still Force Greatsword, wherever the fuck it is. Yeah, Force Greatsword, right? Like all our Shock Maul, our BD Shock Maul, like all these weapons that were already good, that were already the best the class has against everything else. Dueling Sword, of course, is on here. Daggers are on here, right? They just also are good against this, right? The reason they were already good in the game continues to be good here. And this is something that I will again be making a video to cover, which is that, you know, Havoc has this opportunity, since it is a wholly different end game mode, to have a different set of balance rules, to encourage a different meta that strays away from this super overused garbage that we see in every single game because it's just the stuff that's big and it works. But instead, time and time again, it just pushes you towards this stuff that is the only, like, it's stuff that works better in Auric than everything else already does. And then you go into Havoc and you're like, wow, I really hope there's something new. Nope, it's still just this stuff that works better than everything else. And then you get Rotten Armor and it's now not even just highly suggested, but now it's mandatory. So why am I so adamant about this? Why am I like making a second video ranting about something that I've already ranted about? Isn't it clear that by now I'm not going to get through? No, it's not to me. I guess I'm pretty bullheaded like that. I seriously, no joke, want this removed from the game. I do not want to exist in a world where Rotten Armor exists, because it is deleting fun, it's deleting variety from the way that I enjoy the game. Every time I see Rotten Armor, I go, I guess I'll throw on the Dueling Sword. I guess I'll go good on Veteran and I'll choose Crack Grenades. There goes my plans on running Hive Scum with any bullet-based gun. I guess if I'm playing Hive Scum, I have to play Needle Pistol. Oh, I was gonna play Melee Psyker this game, but I guess I'm just playing Flame Staff, right? So that sort of shit is just not the reality. It's not the future that I want to live in Darktide. And it's already been steering that way, but this is the scary thing for me, is when I put out a video about Arbites and I make a comment that other people agree with, which is that, like, okay, Arbites has a role when you're on the back foot, but in the current state of the game, a lot of times, especially on lower difficulties, you don't really ever end up on the back foot. Many characters can just DPS and blow up everything before it even gets to you. So what's the point of being a tank, right? You might as well just everybody just goes DPS and just goes free for all DPS all the way through. What's the point of us having crowd control characters? What's the point of us having support characters? If the only way for us to force having support characters in the game, or like, you know, tank crowd control characters in the game, is to spawn 50 crushers, I think something has failed along the way. I think that we have fundamentally missed a step in design to avoid this like doomsday future. We have gone too far down that slippery slope where we have just baked in the assumption that, oh yeah, players need to be able to kill 20 crushers, so in order to challenge them, we need to spawn 30. That way that 10 of them can actually get to like launch one single attack. And clearly that is what Rotten Armor is designed to do, right? It's designed to flood the arena with so much shit that even though you can kill 90% of crushers before they even get within 10 feet of you, you can't kill that last 10%. And that will amount to 2 crushers, and those 2 crushers will get to attack. And there you go. And that is just not the reality I want to live in, because I've seen it in too many other games, right? I have more hours in Warframe than I do in Darktide, right? I'm an MR30 in Warframe, and I see this game turning into Warframe when I see shit like Rotten Armor. When I look at Rotten Armor, I see the lengths that Digital Extremes, the devs of Warframe, have had to go to in order to make enemies pose a challenge, when literally a weapon or a frame is not considered a good like DPS doer in that game unless it can fucking screen wipe instantly. And in order to make there still be a challenge when you have Incarnon weapons around, the game has to fucking bend over backwards in order to design enemies that will just annoy the shit out of you, even if you can kill them instantly. So now, in order to kill an enemy, you have to kill them, you have to shoot them with your weapon and kill them. Then you have to swap to your fucking operator and hop out and kill their soul in order to go back and then shoot their weak spot. Or like if it's a boss, in order to prevent you from one-shotting it, which almost everybody could do with like regular DPS, they have like 8 different forms of damage attenuation and damage reduction, so that yeah, like you can't, and of course the players that know what's going on, they can still do it. But what happens to everybody else who isn't abusing Incarnon weapons, which are like the equivalent of like the flame staff and the plasma gun and the crack grenades and dueling sword of this game? What happens to players who aren't abusing the most meta possible builds and erasing everything instantly? Well, the game starts to feel like dog shit for them, because now they have to play up against something that is designed specifically to counter the insane power that is available to you. So this is the point I've been making over the past weeks, guys, and I know players will fight me on this tooth and nail. I'll never nerf anything, but like, okay, if you want to have your toys, if you want to make everything in the game be a veteran shout, and every class should have 90 grenades like veterans do, every class should have a flame staff, a flamethrower with infinite ammo, and whatever the fuck else, right? If you want that reality, then you also agree to the reality where the only way to make the game challenging in that point is 55 crushers, 55 maulers, 55 ragers, and a side of, 4 sets of twins at the same time. That's the only way the game is going to be able to give you a reasonable challenge at a certain point, and that is just not a future or a reality I want to live in. I want us all to take a step back and do a disarmament here. It is not going to do anyone a service if this is the intention. If this is the only way we can challenge players in Havoc, is to spawn a literal fuck ton of crushers that will overwhelm any even slightly unprepared players, I don't want to play the game. I just genuinely don't want to play the game. I play too many games with like inexperienced players in Havoc and all that stuff, where I'm trying to help them out, where I'm trying to boost them on my streams and all sorts of stuff like that in order to want to deal with this, because what sort of experience is that for them, where they're coming into my games and they're expecting me to be able to carry and show them the ropes, and then they get hit with this. They get hit with 15 crushers that are chasing them down at one time. I can't do this on my own, right? And you'll say, oh, just play a lower difficulty. It's it's all the way down. It's all the way up and down. We'll play a Havoc 20 and it's still inundating us with this stuff. And it's just not fun for anybody involved. It makes me miserable to play, and it makes everyone else miserable to play. And that should be a huge red flag to Fatshark when they're seeing unanimous agreement across the spectrum. I don't know if I mentioned it already in this video, but I had 98% likes on that rant video about rotten armor. And like, my rant videos usually are very polarizing because people like stuff, but there was almost nobody standing in defense of this thing because it is just so blatantly obnoxious. And now it's gotten even more obnoxious, and I need it gone for my own sanity and for everyone else's sanity, so that people don't quit this game in droves because they get to the end game and they come up against this and they go, well, fuck that, right? That is seriously what it makes me think. Every time I get overwhelmed and I look at the screen, like what you're probably looking at right now, and looking at the amount of shit that the game has thrown out here, and you go, well, fuck that. What the fuck am I supposed to do against this except for run flame staff and throw 18,000 crack grenades? I don't fucking know. Anyway, I give up. But I'll be back to rant some more about Havoc and my own interpretation on how this game mode should be designed, so we don't have to descend into this madness reality. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.